How you doing, guys and gals? This is Doug Wilson from Yellow Hawk Custom Kydex and Gear. I got a few things here on the stump today. Got a cold steel SRK in CPM3V. Got a cold steel Colossus folder. And I got the new EDC system that I designed for Chris Tanner and his JX4 Bushbat. Here's the Bushbat. So if you guys stay tuned, we'll get right to it and talk about all these things. Stay with us. So we're back. Let me move my phone over here. Got a couple of systems right here that I wanted to show you guys. The wrist is doing pretty good. It's still a little bit sore, but I can actually work with it now. It's healing well. Okay, the first system. This is for, I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember. I'll put it in a note underneath. Here's the system. This is tactical black and black carbon fiber. Face mount ferro rod. Nice decent mini compass. Baldric system. Got an AccuSharp diamond hone on the side. I want to say something about these diamond hones. As you use these, as you use them to actually sharpen your knife, okay, you can either put the sharpener to the steel or the steel to the sharpener. Okay, either way you want to do it. Meaning, you know, some people, you know, when they're using a sharpener, take the steel to the sharpener. Or some people take the sharpener to the steel. I do both. It depends on what sharpening implement I'm using. With these diamond hones, it's easier to take the rod to the steel and just sharpen that way. Although you can do it the other way. It's got a flat area on it. It's got a round area. It's got a fish hook sharpener area. It's got a conical slim rod on one side for doing serrations. But as you use these come at about a 600 grit. As you use them, they start to grind down to a finer grit, and you get a finer and finer edge as you use it. These sharpeners are designed to be field sharpeners. This isn't a home sharpener where you're going to get a polished, honed edge. This is just for in the field when you need to get your knife sharp. This diamond hone will do it if you know what you're doing. If you're decent at hand sharpening, you know, if you have to learn, it's not hard to do. I got a couple of videos here on the channel about hand sharpening. So check them out. I'll probably do an extensive hand sharpening video with stones of different sorts and diamond stones and whatnot again. So there we go. It's a system, Hawk Light assembly on the front in red. Now keep in mind, the client designs the sheath, I just build it. They take the options that I offer, they tell me what they want, and I build the system. Okay, on the back, it's a full-size compass, tech lock and multi-carry. It's got a tabby dangler with black textured bison hide. Strong shit. This is really strong hide. Expensive and strong. Okay. So there we go. This is for the Silent Hero. This is a very popular knife. It's I don't know, 6.5-ish inch 1095 steel blade. 3/16. It's about 3/16 inch. Might be 5/32. Nah, that's 3/16. There it is. Got that Rocky Mountain tread. They were supposed to come out with a different handle, one that's not as aggressive and one that's a little beefier, because this handle doesn't really fill up your hand completely, although it's serviceable. It works. Okay, I wish they would come out with a fatter handle though. There's that click. So there's that first one. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this on the last video, but I wanted to show it again. Yellowhawk is starting to get back into the military scene again. I fell out of it for a while, just because I got out of the military and I wasn't doing sheaths for soldiers that much. But soldiers are starting to see the new designs that are coming out. And, you know, the guys who have never seen them before are really liking them. So this is for a group down in Florida. It's an EOD group. They do a lot of technical stuff. They asked me to, you know, recommend some knives to them for the jobs that they were going to be performing. So I gave them like 4 or 5 knives to choose from, and this is the one they chose, the Rat 5. And there are different reasons why they chose this knife. Different reasons. They didn't want a really heavy knife, and the Rat 5 is not really heavy, okay? You're talking about a 3/16 inch stock knife, 1095 tool steel, easy to sharpen. It's just an all-around great utility knife for guys in the military. It's got a nice flat grind on it. So there it is, the Rat 5. That's the one they chose. And then they told me what they wanted on every system. I'm building about 20 of these over the next 5 weeks. Just gonna give you a shot, you know, look at it. Future versions of this are going to have a khaki pouch, I think, rather than the OD, but they definitely want coyote brown. These guys wear multicam OCP uniforms, so they have the option of putting on a tech lock or a molly lock. So real easy to change out. You just remove these 3 screws, take the molly lock off, put a tech lock on, and screw it all back together again. That's what these holes are for. That's for the tech lock. And they also wanted a tabby dangler and a ferro rod. That's it. Okay, without further ado, drum roll please. Chris Tanner sent me his JX4 Bushbat to design and build an EDC sheath for it. So I think I've done that. I did the best I could with it, with the geometry of the knife. I thought about what I was going to do, and here are some of the features that are a little different than some of the features on other sheaths that you've seen me build. Okay, number one, because of the handle geometry and the need for your hand to be in one position on this knife, either pinky through the pinky ring or not, it's designed to be held like this, or there's a backhand configuration as well. All right, there's also a backhand configuration that you can hold it this way for concealed self-defense. Okay, I don't get much into self-defense on this channel, honestly, because it's a liability. Guys, you know, use a technique that you taught them, and that all you know, the next thing you know, you got a lawyer knocking at your door. I don't need that. So I stay away from the self-defense stuff, but I do mention it because that's what this is designed for. Both combat, self-defense, and bushcrafting. It's called the Bushbat JX4. I like the design. Okay, this one is just a prototype, so I can't really review it until I get the production model in my hands, because they're going to change this. This design is going to change a little bit. They're going to tweak some features. I can almost guarantee it. Okay. So here we go. I'm just going to talk about the sheath. I love the blade. I love the ergonomics of it. It feels really good in the hand. But like I said, they're going to change a few things on it, I would imagine. If they don't, they don't. But I think they're going to. A2 tool steel. It definitely is a different style, a different geometry than we're used to, but very effective. Given what I've done with it so far, it feathers like a dream. It even batons. There's the sheath system. All right. There, I just did it. All right. Okay. Okay. Right now, kids, we're going to talk about the EDC system from Yellow Hawk Customs. Okay. All right. I thought that was funny as hell. Pretty straightforward. I've got, these are called choke-up scallops right here. Choke-up scallops. That allows your forefinger to get all the way up into the hilt of the knife, so it's easier to draw, and your hand is in the same position when you draw it, give or take, as when you're using the knife. Got a great pronounced click, no problem. Overall, I love the design of the blade. It's very comfortable when you first put it in your hands. The EDC system, okay, let's get back to that. So I got those forward choke up scallops. This one also has something different that I am designing into knives now, into sheath systems, because I'm getting a lot more military guys now. This is called my combat lock. So basically what it is, it's a bushing system that increases the retention on the knife to almost impossible to get it out. Now the reason why I take it that far, almost impossible to get it out, is because I do not believe in locking a knife in a sheath. It's dangerous. If you need to get to that knife quick, locking a knife in the sheath defeats the purpose of getting to it quick. So this combat lock, okay, functions as a redundancy retention system for guys who want a sheath system that's going to hold onto their knife come hell or high water, but they can still deploy the weapon with some force. Okay, got it? So basically you crank down on the retention system, crank it all the way down, and it makes it really tight to get out of there, but you can still do it. Right now it's set at its lightest retention, which is basically just turn to half a turn, just to seat it into the bushing so it doesn't rattle out of there. Other than that, here's the system. Got carbon fiber scallops on the front. This does two things. It's cool looking, and it also shores up the sheath even more, makes it stronger. Got a tech lock at a 45 or vertical, or a 45 vertical, or a 90 degree scout, like behind the back type thing. All right, so there it is, the JX4 Bushbat. You can see right there on the spine it says prototype. Okay, so that's the new EDC system for the JX4 Bushbat. This knife was designed by Chris Tanner and built by Bark River Knives. I think they did a great job. Like I said, I'd like to see a few modifications on it, but other than that, I think it's a great knife. I think it's going to sell well. Guys are going to be pretty excited over this thing. because of what it can do and how unique it looks. Okay, so there's that. Next one. I'm just going to talk about these knives. You can pretty much bet these knives are going to be good performers. You can only do so much with a knife out in the field. Every knife cuts like every other knife. Your finesse and how efficient your cutting is lies in the edge grind, the actual edge bevel, the edge grind of the knife. Whether it's a good feather sticker or a good notcher or a good shaver or a good splitter or whatever lies in, not only the edge but also the grind of the knife. But I find that most knives that are of good quality are good splitters, good cutters, good shavers. I mean, nowadays it's hard to find a knife that doesn't cut well. Knives traditionally, I mean, that's what they're designed for, to cut well. This is a SRK, cold steel SRK in CPM3V with their anti-glare finish. I've never been a fan of these rubber craton handles. However, to tout cold steel a little bit, I've had an SRK, a regular one, for about 25 years, and the handle's still going strong. This rubber thing, which I always thought would break off or dry rot or something, it hasn't. It's stood the test of time. I'm just not comfortable with something in the field that moves like that. I just don't. I mean, the handles are comfortable, they grip well, you get a great purchase on the blade for stabbing or slashing or backhand fighting or self-defense or whatever. It's not coming out of your hand, but I just have a funny feeling about rubber in the field. I just think in the back of my mind that it's going to give up the ghost when I really need it. But I have no proof of that. So these are the knives that they're issuing to the BUDS candidates. These are pre-Navy SEAL guys. BUDS candidates are the guys up in the Great Lakes who are, it's like a pre-Navy SEAL weed out phase. This is the knife that they're issuing those guys, the SRK. I don't believe it's the CPM3V version that they're issuing. It's the other one. But I like the knife. I've had one for a long time, used it in all kinds of situations. It's a strong knife. I'm curious to see how this is going to fare, the CPM3V, which is just an over-the-top steel for a knife like this. I carried my SRK when I was in the Army a lot. I carried it a lot. It wasn't the only knife I carried, but this is one of them that I did carry. Despite the rubber handle, it really does give you a good purchase. I can't give you an argument for not buying this knife. I mean, that SRK is I still have it. So there it is. The SRK in CPM3V. I'm going to be putting it through its paces in another video. This is how I feel about reviewing knives. I don't do it that often because, first of all, if I show it on this channel, it's a nice knife. I make no bones about wanting quality when I buy a knife, or when I get a knife, or when I show a knife. So, and like I said, knives are designed to cut. This knife will do what this knife does, what this knife does, what will do what this knife does, and so on and so on and so forth. So as long as the edge grind is right and the actual grind of the knife is right and the steel thickness is right for you, it's going to be a good knife. Today's steels are not like they were 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Advancements in steel technology, leaps and bounds over the last 30 or 40 years. Especially today, over the last 10 years, leaps and bounds. Really strong, really dependable steel in most of the knives that we're buying nowadays. So no need to say, hey, this is a strong knife, I like this knife because it does this. They all do that, pretty much, okay? So there's the SRK. Just wanted to show it to you guys. The sheath is serviceable. It'll work. It's got some rattle to it. It's got some tip play. I call it tip rock. It's got some tip rock, but all in all, it keeps the knife in the sheath. It's a decent looking sheath. I'm not happy with Cordura. I don't use it. I use scuba webbing when I do use synthetic materials like this, because this Cordura will wear out. Starts to fray on the edges as you wear it on your belt, and then starts to migrate into the center, and before you know it, the thing's falling off your belt and you lost your knife. I do not do snaps either. I don't like snaps on sheaths. Snaps on sheaths are a recipe for disaster. You're going to eventually lose your knife. Those snaps are going to come undone and you're going to lose your knife. Trust me, I've been there. Snaps and sheaths just don't work. Now, if you're a snap affiliate and you love snaps, that's just great. I don't like snaps. However, if a client wants me to put them on a sheath, then I usually do it for them. I'll use those pull the dot snaps, but even they are failable. Okay, so there it is, SRK. At the very least, you know I have one for molding, CPM3V. I'm going to do this one next. I'm going to shut the camera off. It's getting a little dark. This is the Cold Steel Colossus. I'm not a giant folder guy, but this thing is a beast. So I'm going to show it to you now, just at the end of this video, and then I'll talk about it next time. Some CTS XHP steel, which is another one of those steels that comes down the line that's just really good. It's a really good steel. High chromium content, great edge retention, just a great steel. All right, there's the Colossus. This Colossus was designed by Mike Wallace. Mike Wallace, as you well know, is the maker who makes my Delta Whiskey Backcountry, my LMF1 design, the BMF2 design. Actually, he helped me redesign those two knives. So, and we sell a lot of the Delta Whiskey. There's a thing going on with the BMF2. It got lost in the mail, so we're trying to fix that right now. I'm waiting for Mike to build me a new one so we can get these things onto the market. I kind of got cut short because I lost the knife in the mail. It's just gone. It went to a neighbor's house. They deny they have it. And end of story. So here's the Colossus. Feels great in the hand. It's got a nice choke-up choil. I love the geometry of the blade. It's a great slicer. And I think it would do well in the bush as a secondary knife. All right, guys, that's it for now. This is Doug Wilson for Yellowhawk Custom Kydex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. The wrist feels pretty good. Thanks for all the well wishers. I really appreciate it. Have a good night.